Hey class, I want to talk to a few minutes about teams, a little bit about followership, and then a little bit about your final paper. In our worlds, we usually use the word team pretty indiscriminately, and nothing wrong with that. A team is a team, it's a group of people who work together. But in studying teamwork and leadership with more scrutiny and a little more clear-eyed approach, we realize that it's important to distinguish, at least in our minds, the difference between a working group and a team, especially as the team has been defined. He's not the only one, but Katzenbach and Douglas Smith in their book, I refer to this. And I've given you an article to read in this week's discussion board. They write The Wisdom of Teams. I've read a lot of books on teams. This one is by far the best. And just a couple of things I want to fly over on this with you. It's one thing to have a leader of a team who takes responsibility for the project and then has good discussions with their work group and then delegates everything and everybody does their job and they report to the leader and then the work gets done. That's kind of a work group according to this definition, and there's nothing wrong with that. If the work gets done and that's good, then that's fine. But there's another level of leadership, another level of leadership development, because that's what this approach to teams does. And there's another level of sort of getting in the flow of a different kind of work style that can get much more done while at the same time preparing others for greater leadership. So one of those is that there's a difference between a boss who just hands out work, everybody does it and reports to her. There's nothing wrong with that. In a real team, there's also a leader. Leadership is still legitimate in a real team, but it is more of a collaborative process. This is what we all do together. And in a team, everyone is more responsible for the entire product, the entire project, the entire destination of the entire team. It's not just I bring this and I do my part and everybody else does their part. Teams have specialists, don't get me wrong, but the specialists also integrate cross-functionally with the other members of the team. They take some responsibility for the specialization of the other member as vice versa, as the other does for them, and they do work more together collaboratively. So a leader still takes charge, if you will. She still delegates work. There is still specialization on a real team, but all of these things are done more collectively, more collaboratively, more in an integrated way, so that the team itself works things out among themselves. And the team is a kind of thing. It is greater than the sum of its parts. A work group is not that. A work group is the sum of its parts with a leader who directs it. That's fine, but a team becomes more than the sum of its parts. It becomes something that in and of itself has a kind of flow and a kind of collective intuition that can really be much more powerful than merely a work group. So there is delegation, but more collaboration in the work team, in the team itself, rather than the working group. There is leadership in both the work group and the team, but in the team it is more integrated, it is more collaborated, and in the team, each of the members are, in a way, sometimes very intuitively, learning how to be the leader of the group, and many times they actually lead the group in different projects, and the leader, the person in charge, the one that's distinctly holds that role, is sitting back and letting the others lead. That contributes to the collective energy and the collective direction of the whole. So work groups can work very well together. Teams work well together, and they work collaboratively in the same space. There's a little paper I did on leadership development, the plateaus and passages of that. I think you've seen that already. That's a good illustration of what a team does when the leader is preparing everyone in that team, especially from the executive team level that we're talking about this week, as it has to do with the strategic function of an organization. The leader is trying to prepare everybody on that executive team for her own succession and for their eventual leadership of the entire organization. Now, that may not literally happen, but she is preparing for that. And the way a leader prepares for another leader to come up behind her, one of the ways is to have this kind of true and genuine team that she works with, where everyone is seeing the entire organization, no matter what your specialization is. Everyone is having the opportunity to lead a project outside of their own specialization for the entire organization. Everyone is getting the feel for the complexities and the nuance of the entire organization and the entire team. And there are other things, of course. But those are the high points of what it means to be an executive team that is integrated and that is truly a team. Some of the ideas of leadership development and not falling for the great man, heroic point of view of leadership is in the little article I had last week from the Wild Pack of Dogs. This is what that book actually looks like. And I think I've given this to you before. It's the great book on followership by Barbara Kellerman. And I've also put a little article this week on your discussion page on why you should always follow a leader who follows herself. So that's pretty much it. One thing on the paper. So on the paper this week, here's the goal. The goal is to weave the theories that you've been studying into these traits, if you will, or these qualities of a leader. You will choose anywhere from 4 to 8. You can go less than that or more than that, but roughly 4 to 8 qualities or descriptions of leadership that you put forward. And what I would like to see is that you can weave in parts of many different theories in your paper to substantiate any one of these qualities or points of principle that you lay out in terms of what is my leadership going to be like ideally. Now, what I would rather not see is that you just say, servant leadership is one of my things. And then you just pull in what Robert Greenleaf or somebody says about servant leadership, and you just plug in that, and so that it's very, kind of linear like that. I want to see you, let's say you say, one of the things that's really important to me about leadership is integrity. And then you pull in path goal, a little something there, a little something from Vroom and Vetton, a little something from servant leadership, and you craft an integrated statement of a paragraph or 2 or 3 on your quality, okay? In this paper, the application point isn't as important as I've made it in the other papers. I'm a real stickler for an application point is an actionable, measurable thing that you do in real time. It's not just thinking about it. It's not your awareness of it. I'm going to try to be more path goal oriented. That's not an application. That's an intention. I'm going to try to do this or that more. That's a good general intention. So That's what I've been asking you to do. In this paper, however, you don't have to be that concrete or specific. You can be a little more general like that. I'm going to try to do these kinds of things. I'm not going to grade very much on the application side. What I'm looking at is, can you draw from all of these traits and theories and put them together in a way that makes sense? And that shows that you've really thought about them, that you've really considered this, that you're retrieving your ideas from this large palette of theories that we've studied, and you can create something that is yours. I believe in this, 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 and this. Just do that as an exercise, and then your paper should reflect, and you should reference it clearly, how all of these ideas are pulled from all of the theories that we have studied. So that's lecture number 2. You made it through. Only one more week. We can do this. See you then.